Humans have long hoped to harness the full power of the mind. During the Cold War, the CIA even hired supposed mind readers to help spy on the Soviets in a top-secret program. What if we don't have to hope anymore? Brain-computer interface, a special type of AI technology known as BCI, shows tremendous promise in making our minds do things we've only previously imagined. But this all comes at a price: access to your mind. Are we willing to open up our minds to machines? How much can we trust that in this strange new future, our minds will still be our own?
The brain is not just another organ of the body. It is the organ that makes us who we are. With neurotechnology, we can decide what type of human being we are. Everything comes out of the activity of neurons in your brain. And for the first time in history, we've developed technology that lets you record that activity and change it.
What you're seeing here is a mouse drinking, not out of desire, but because it was ordered to do so by scientists manipulating its neurons. Proof that the brain can be controlled from the outside.
That for me was an Oppenheimer moment, because, I mean, on the one hand, we were super excited, like, oh my God, we finally got into the brain. But of course, what you can do in a mouse today, you can do in a human tomorrow. And that's when I started to be worried. So what are the most scary scenarios that we can imagine with neurotechnology? Mental privacy, decoding of one's thoughts. They could decode not just what you're thinking, but even worse, what your subconscious, what you don't know you're thinking. The second, our identity. Someone could go and dissolve it, break it, and this is something that nobody ever worried about in the history of humanity, because you cannot change the person. Guess what? Now you can. The third area of concern are decisions. This is not science fiction. We've done it with mice. We turn the mouse into a puppet and make the mouse do one thing or the other. The fourth area of concern is to have a humanity that is fractured into two types of humans, ones that are augmented mentally and other ones that are not, like an underclass. The last nightmare scenario is to have people pipe in information into your brain that is biased or discriminatory. In a way, they're sort of changing your belief systems. Some people may be afraid we're developing technology to get into the brain, to map what the brain does and to change it. The reason we're doing this has to do with the patients. Who doesn't have a family member of a friend that suffers from a brain disease? Either Alzheimer's, schizophrenia, depression, anxiety. We know painfully well that we cannot help these people because as doctors, we don't have the technology to go into the brains of these people, understand their problem, and fix it. That means that we have to develop these methods at any cost as soon as we can.
At Motif, we are building implantable electronic devices to help people who suffer from mental health conditions that aren't being effectively treated by their drugs. It's like a brain stimulator for mental health.
Jacob, interview, take 1 second, sticks.
Give us a sense of the scope of the problem you're trying to solve. How many people suffer from depression?
We estimate it's about 3 million Americans who are suffering from depression and have failed to respond to 2 or more drugs. For every person with a spinal cord injury, there are 10 people suffering from treatment-resistant depression. It's just invisible. One of the things that we've begun to discover about depression is that these are circuit-level disorders. And in the case of depression, brain activity is predominantly trapped in this state. The device that we're building is a miniature implant and it stimulates that part of the executive function network that increases its activity, so it becomes strengthened. So it now pulls you out of that ruminating state, the state of those negative emotions, and now you can begin to do the things that were impossible before.
How long does the procedure take?
We estimate the procedure will take less than 30 minutes, and you go home that day.
That day?
That day.
Okay.
Yeah, it's less invasive than most cosmetic procedures. It's less invasive than a nose job. Drugs don't activate networks. They activate neurons in your body and in your brain, and that causes all kinds of side effects. If you look at people on antidepressants today, a lot of them fall off because of weight gain or sexual dysfunction. These are things that we shouldn't even